Go for it. Get some on the crust. Let that soak it up in the crust. Mm-hmm.
Hear that bubbling? Boom. You know, it's like all that when y'all like, ooh, this.
But let's also be careful that you just put alcohol in the gas oven. What are we getting ready to do?
Back up.
How about we take it out? How about we take it out?
But it's not a flame on it.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying something's going to happen. I'm just saying let's be mindful.
But there's no like.
It's a gas oven though, right?
It is.
There's a flame somewhere.
Down at the bottom.
Okay. We're good. We should be good. I'm going to stand
Somebody
over here.
get there.
I'm going to stand over here. You'll be fine.
Where's Michael?
Don't tell him.
My name is Andrea Michelle Haritos. I have 3 children. Cecil Walton Bond IV, then Taylor Nicole Bond, and I have a bonus daughter, Sarah Haritos. My son, Cecil Walton Bond IV. Cecil would have been this October on the 22nd. He would have been 27. And he passed in 2013. And Cecil was a very charismatic, charming. He knew how to get you to believe his stories. And it's funny, even to this day, I laugh to know that after he passed, I had gone through some photos and some paperwork of his and pictures, and I have a copy of his driver's license that he told me he had gotten because he lost his driver's license and he had to go through some court things to actually acquire his license again. And when I actually pulled that photo out of my wallet, it was just an ID. So he really didn't even get his driver's license, but he made me believe just by flashing that picture. I just saw a little Delaware State something on the car, and I was good to go. I was like, okay, you did what you needed to do. We're good. But no, it's just an ID. He was also a loving son and loving brother and loving friend. He enjoyed his sister, and they fought like cats and dogs, but he would do anything for Taylor, anything at all. And part of me also misses the fact that Sarah never would have an opportunity to experience that or really even get to know him, period. But he loved family and he enjoyed being around friends. He enjoyed playing basketball. Taylor played basketball. Sarah right now is playing tennis, but basketball was Cecil's sport. As time went on and his father and I were going through our marital differences and then the separation and into the divorce, that's really what tore him apart. And I would be a fool to say, and many other people would be, to say that his demeanor and disposition on a lot of things shifted totally. And it just caused him to be emotionally, I personally feel as his mother, emotionally hurt, disillusioned to what was going on, just very hurt. And he missed his family. He missed his family being together the way he structurally knew it to be. Cecil needed a lot of attention, and unfortunately, I don't want to say it wasn't enough, but it led to what it led to. And in 2013 is when we lost him.
All right, so
Here it is.
yeah, take me back.
Take you back.
to the day.
So the day Cecil had passed away, it was a Wednesday, and the craziness was I had just had a conversation with his father that Monday, and the conversation didn't go all that well. But it was me and that frantic mom, this is what we need to do. We're not doing enough. We're losing him. He's out there, he's just wilding out. And the conversation didn't go the greatest. So we left, and that Tuesday was Michael, my boyfriend then, husband now, his 50th. So I'm doing it up because he's not a social person, and getting a cake and setting up his office and the door, and we're going somewhere to eat. Just for him to experience, you're turning 50. You should be doing something. So that was Tuesday. And Wednesday, I was driving to Pennsylvania, Route 202. We were staying at a hotel doing I don't want to say seminar, but it was a real estate conference, and it was over the course of 8 weeks. And it's groups of 8, and you had to have a team leader, and it's more or less teaching you kind of how to get back and do certain things in real estate, whether it be phone calls and talking to FISBOs and all this other kind of stuff. So I'm more of a veteran, so let me be the team leader. So this was our graduation day, literally. And at that time, I think I was doing nursing, but not as many hours. I know I wasn't doing a lot of hours because my money was tight. So Taylor was going to college. She was going to Morgan State. She had already received her paperwork, and she got a full ride her freshman year, so she's all excited about that. And I remember talking to her on the phone, and she was, Mom, what am I going to do with my hair? Who's paying? And I need to get a weave and the whole bit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're wearing me out. So Taylor, I will talk to you about this later. I'm going to see what I can scratch up this money. How much is the hair, the bundles, or whatever. So she and I were having that conversation. It was right around lunch. So I didn't get an opportunity to have the full hour or whatever that we get for lunch. And I told her, I said, Taylor, let me get off the phone with you, and let me eat this lunch, and we'll talk about it when I get out of this last class. So I go back in, and I remember plugging my phone up because my phone didn't have a charge. So I plugged my phone up, I'm scarfing down the food. People are starting to come back into the banquet and getting their seats, and the trainer and the teacher, and he's setting up his PowerPoint, and she's calling me, so I'm ignoring. And I'm scarfing down the food again, and I'm putting the plate and stuff away into the kitchen with the staff there at the hotel, and she's calling me again. I ignore. Calls me the third time, like, didn't I just tell this girl that I had to eat lunch? I'll call you, talk to you later. So I start getting up and walking out of the actual conference room, and she's screaming at the top of her lungs. Somebody says Cecil got shot. Somebody says Cecil got shot. And at this point, like how you felt, like, what? What are you saying? So now I'm fully out of the room. I'm in the hallway of the hotel. And I'm like, Taylor, slow down. She talks fast like her mother. Slow down. I can't hear you or understand you. What are you saying to me? And she said, somebody said Cecil has got shot, but they don't know where he was. And that was confusing to me. Like, how do you know he's gotten shot, but nobody knows where he is? So at this point, when she said it, I was outside actually, and I beeline right into the room. So I'm in the room, snatching everything up, snatching the charger out of the wall, and just like you with your coworker, one of the team members there on my team, and now everybody's in the room, and they're sitting in the chairs, and they're looking at me, frantic, grabbing everything. And he's like, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, leave me alone. I said, my son just got shot. Leave me alone. So everybody in that moment, and he's right behind me. Snatched up his backpack, and he's right behind me. He said, you're not driving. I said, I am. No, you're not. And I didn't know this guy from Adam. So being in the real estate business, you know a lot of people, but never met him just, over the course of this 8 weeks. So Matt is right behind me, and I'm now running to my car, grabbing the car charger out of it, and now we're jumping in his car. So we're in his, I think it was a Jeep. We're in his car, and we're driving, and I'm phone calling everybody.
Where are you going?
Don't know. So I'm literally headed from Pennsylvania back to Delaware. So we're on 202.
Okay.
So I'm headed in that direction. And I'm calling people and girlfriends of mine that, their sons, were Cecil's friends. They're calling as well, but nobody at that time knew where he was. But the joke to this day, and wasn't as friendly that moment, was Matt saying to me, I need to stop and get gas. And I could have...
I could be in my own car.
Girl, I almost wanted the Flintstone feet to be outside the car.
Right.
Stop it. Like, what are you saying to me right now? We need to get gas. I said, you don't understand where we're going? So, again, knowing how God is in everything, that was our moment to stop, because then we got the phone call of where he was.
Okay.
So somebody found out where he was, and he was at Chester Crozier, so he was being medevac there. And that allowed us to get the gas and then turn back around and go back in the direction that we were coming from. And now I'm making more phone calls to friends. I'm calling his dad, having choice words, and the whole bit. So I was the first one there. Matt dropped us off. I had called Michael, and Michael was on his way. Called my best friend Michelle and Daryl and Cheryl. Just a lot of people. I got to the hospital, and unfortunately for me, like how you felt, I didn't already feel that he was gone, but I knew he wasn't going to live. Because I had in my journal, so when I journaled, it was either April or March of that year, that the nursing case that I was on was with a young man who had gotten shot several times, and he basically didn't speak or do anything. And I remember being on that nursing case and saying, God, I don't want my son to be like this, because this was a lot. People in your house every day, doing all the the medical stuff, and just everything. And that's your life when you have someone who's hurt like that. Doctors had us in that room. My daughter showed out, just emotionally. Lifted the whole table up, screaming and crying. I had again choice words to say at that moment, and it was just a feeling like this has finally happened. Like what you could almost, for me, again, our deaths are totally different, but for me, it was something that I can literally see at like a playbook, like coming down the pike, happening.
Like a prediction.
A prediction. It was happening. He was doing too much. He was everywhere. He was with people. I felt personally that I don't want to use the word fighting, but I was just up against what I thought he needed to be doing, and I was up against where his friends were pulling him into. And not forcing, but what he was introduced to doing. So I was up against that and fighting that, and for the friends that were saying good things, you shouldn't be doing this. So, but it wasn't Mom, it wasn't me.
Right.
It was just a lot for that day, and by the time the doctors told us, I was then, let me see him. And after we were in the room seeing him, it was me washing him off, just like you said, the collar, he had the neck brace on, he had the compression boots on, all the machines were beeping. And I remember my daughter just, again, bawling and screaming at me, saying, Mom, you're a nurse. Now, mind you, I'm an LPN at that time, way back in the day. Never in an ER or anything like that. But she's just, you're medical. You should be knowing something. And I hear machines beeping. So that means he's still alive. But he's not.
Right.
So her screaming, his dad in the corner sitting, and he's crying and emotional. And I'm just whispering in his ear. So now this is my crying moment. Just whispering in his ear that I told you it was going to be okay. I wish you would have listened to me, in reference to not doing the things that you were doing, that I understand the divorce and the separation and the whole bit that was pulling you in a different direction, that it could get better. And you just didn't trust your mother and just walking away from that. So here we are. So it was a whisper in the ear of me, and even to this day, I just still won't share. It's just like my private moment of sharing with him. But I whispered something in his ear, and I said, and then after that kind of saying, I'll see you in heaven. And I walked out. I washed his face. I told him, I said, you would be disgusted at how you look right now, because he hated blood. Didn't like anything about blood. And he was blood down the ears. His eyes were like bigger than these tomatoes, but they were just huge and solid. And like you were mentioning, how one of the things that you regret, like trying to take the collar off and pick him up, I remember trying to feel, because he was shot in the back of the head, trying to feel that hole. And I was holding his head, it was heavy, picking him up and trying to get my hand behind him just to see where he was shot. And I couldn't do it. And I felt, nobody was pressuring me, but I felt pressure, like if you don't do it quickly, then they're gonna stop you from touching him and doing whatever. So I felt a couple of times and I couldn't feel it. And I just let it be. But I cleaned him up. Taylor and her dad were still in the room. I walked out, went to the nurse, and I said, who do I need to speak to? Because I'm a donor. And just like how you're a donor and you were doing things with Isaiah based on him being a donor, I said, I want to make my son a donor. And after she and I spoke into the room, we went in and we got his father, and then we went into the room together and just kind of ironed out that information on making him a donor through the gift of life. So when I got to the hospital, though, part of me now, years that have gone past, that was my moment to like be mean. Like I didn't want anybody to be around. This had to be a moment for my family and only my family. So even though my in-laws are there, my parents live in South Carolina, my sister's in Seattle, my brother's in Georgia, but this is a moment just for the three of us, and the four of us, you know, Cecil included, my ex and my daughter, just for us to deal with this, because I felt like I've been screaming to the top of my lungs on what needed to be done and how I felt things need to be fixed and what we weren't doing enough of, that this is our moment to deal with this. I didn't want anybody else to be pampered. I needed for us to deal with it as a family. But regretfully, I will say the one thing that I regret is the fact that almost like a movie, myself, my daughter, and my ex, we all left differently. We never gotten together to talk about him or done none of that. I guess for me it was the anger that I had that was definitely not going to happen on that day. But even thereafter, we never did that. So us parting ways, but yet we're family.
Right.
It was
felt wrong. Just felt.
It felt very wrong.
Yeah.
Very wrong.
Yeah. What do you think would come from the three of you coming together? As you saw, it was a missed opportunity the night he passed away, and you didn't, and you haven't.
There will be a level of healing from that, but so without me sugarcoating and adding a lot to it and convoluting it, but I think there will be some healing at the level that we need to heal as the family that we were for that, because I really do. My son was a family boy. He loved his family. He loved how we vacationed. He loved the trips that we took, the sports that we played, the friends being able to spend the night, the house parties that he had. He loved those moments. So I think it's a slight disservice in not doing it. But it's been, 7 years, 2013 to 2020. It's been so long. I don't know if it's something that we could fully benefit from, because we now have gone in so many different directions. He's remarried, I'm remarried, my daughter's in Atlanta, she's doing her life. It would kick up too much dust now that I don't think a lot of us are wanting to actually rehash. But if there was a way that we could come together and just have a conversation, I think it would be beneficial to my daughter, because I will never know how my daughter feels with having lost her only sibling.
Right.
I'm the oldest of 4.
Right.
So I have my siblings.
And so is that the conversation maybe that needs to happen? Instead of, I'm not saying the three of you coming together isn't a good thing. I'm just, as you're piecing it together, maybe that's the first step to that.
Right. It's all, at this point right now, it's for her. It's in benefit for her. It'll benefit us, but it's the longevity that I want to make sure that she's okay, because when he and I are gone, she's here by herself. Right. And granted, whatever family she actually, puts together and has, and children, or whatever direction she's going in, based on her family life. But I just want to make sure that she's solid emotionally, physically, mentally, and all of that, because I literally, for the 5 years, so when he died, we buried him August 8th, and she immediately had to start college. So you're taking an 18-year-old, and we all know that we say things like college is life lessons. So she's thrown into life lessons of growing up, but let alone growing up, on top of that, growing up without your brother there. And that was her ride or die. That was her main source of whatever. If she had a problem going on, or if I was getting on her nerves, or her dad, that's what she went to. So I couldn't even imagine how she had to navigate through those 5 years of her going through school. But for me, I had to, like you said, make sure that I didn't bring certain things up or bring anything up at all. So crying, that was, I mean, she's in college and I'm now married with Michael. I remember just sliding down the side of a bed many a night, so he's asleep, and I would just slide the covers, push him back, slide down, not trying to make any noise, and literally be bawling, like full Viola Davis. Snot, the eyes red, the whole bit, and just going through those years. But then, hold everything together. Get your face together and keep on moving. You had real estate to do, and at that time I got back into real estate, so I'm in real estate, making sure that I'm financially getting myself together so that I'm getting her through school. Being in a relationship as far as new, being in a blended family, that's new, dealing with his daughter, his first life, like all that, and then also suppressing like the anger. So I had to hold all that in for 5 years, and the reason why I say that for 5 years, although it's been 7 of his death, but those 5 years were like hell for me.